We want to start straight on these issues. We've had some, I think we started this episode with the marriage. Then we did, what was the next thing we did? Dealing with marital conflicts. And we're looking at a third issue tonight, this afternoon. It's on marital communication. And very, 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 very essential. I think this is what runs marriage. I think this is what runs marriage. You know, somehow it is popular being said in the world that, you know, even sometimes some pastors believe in this issue. They'll tell you it's money that runs the marriage. So if there's no money, there's no marriage. And I've said over and over that that's a lie. That's a lie. It's not the truth. Because I have proved it over and over the last time, you know, here that it is not the truth. Because marital issues is a relational thing. And you can quickly look at what is true, what is wrong, somehow, sometimes, when we look at God. Because God who instituted marriage. Now, it says something very important. If you look at the way he instituted relationship between us and him, you'll find out that the first question I asked the other time was, it's still money that make the relationship between you and God work. If money is not what sustains your relationship with God, then money is not what will sustain marriage. But over the years, we have worked like the people of the world. And if money is what sustains marriage, then the millionaires of this world are the ones that will really have the right to enjoy their marriage. Then you will find out all the poor people will have nothing to show for their marriage. So, but this is not so. Because many of these millionaires will find out that even when they marry with all the millions, in the next 1 month, they've packed the marriage up. So, it's a proof that it's not money that runs the marriage. And what I see over the time that runs the marriage is what runs the relationship between you and God. It is communication. It is prayers. So if you want to, because that's the truth. True marriage is being run by communication, not by money. You will still find out that as we go by, you will see the place of money and the rest of the whole thing there. And that's why we are in the center of what runs marriage. So I want to make us understand that marriage actually is, because if you don't pray, if you don't talk to God, if you don't read your Bible, if you are not in tune with God, you will find out the relationship between you and God will start to deteriorate. It's the same thing. If you have it, that's why I don't believe in husband being Calabar, the other one being in Sokoto. It's not supposed to be so. It's not supposed to be so. You're going to find out that that is not even really marriage. And except it for a while, when two of you have had a good agreement on that. It's just the same thing when the Bible is talking about sex. It said, once you're married, make sure that you don't defraud each other from sexual, interaction. It said, because if you're going to be there, it's also be for a while and for an agreement. So that Satan will not tempt you. It's the same principle, it's the same thing. If your husband is in Calabar and you are in Owerri or you are in Kano, you are opening a door for temptation for your marriage. That's the truth about it. Especially if there's no sound agreement on that. And it should be for a season, least. You cause some problems that you didn't bargain for. So when you see a lot of marriages fail in the world, it is because most of us, we are not following the principles that God instituted for marriage. And that's why we are not enjoying it. So tonight we're just going to begin to see some certain issues on this thing. So we are dealing with marital communications. Now, the first thing I said here, I said relationship is always sustained through or by communication. Any kind of relationship. Because marriage is a relational issue. So that's the first thing you're going to know. Okay, let's come down a little bit and let's make some definitions. What is communication? Let's start there. Now, here I said, communication is an exchange of information, knowledge, wisdom, resources. So, in a nutshell, when you talk about communicating, you are exchanging. It's not like you go to a market and you went to do trade by barter. That's why I used to tell young ones, sex in sex. You will find that sex is not lovemaking, like one of you said. It is communication. We'll soon get there. So when you are having sex to a stranger, you are buying strange things into your life, into your destinies that you didn't know, you didn't bargain for. That when they begin to show up in years to come, you begin to bind the devil and begin to run from pillar to post. But you didn't know the time you were buying them. So let's make love. Sex is not making love, my dear. Sex is communication. It's buying and sell. We're going to get there. So I think we're through with that simple definition. So when you are communicating, you are making an exchange of either information, of either wisdom, of either resources, or you're just making an exchange of issues from one point to the other. And in exchange, and one thing again you can see about communication is that it's not a one-way affair. It's a double way. It's a two-way affair. And it is not a monologue, it's a dialogue. You know, something is, in those days I did chemistry. You find that when there's a chemical reaction, some elements or atoms or compound, whatever, has move from this level to other, this one, there's going to be a displacement reaction. So that at any time, there has to be equilibrium. There must be balancing. Okay, now, before we go further, let's look at what we define in the question mark. What is marriage?
Therefore shall a man leave his father and his mother, and shall cleave unto his wife, and they shall become one flesh.
Okay, thank you. Now, I guess 24 is the real issue about marriage. Marriage is a man leaving his mother, his father. I did say some things the last time. Okay? The reason that over these years, he has been under the authority of his father and his mother. And so, the first thing a man does is to leave his mother and father's authority, so that he can come directly under God's authority. So that he could become a man under authority. Then, the second thing the Bible says he will do is to what? Leave his mother and father and what? I will cleave. Now, see, that word cleave, I had to sit down to be able to look at some certain issues about it. Now, it simply means to cling, to stay close, to keep close, to stick to follow closely, to be joined unto, to pursue hard in order to catch up. How many of you know that Adam disobeyed that thing? Because I wonder where Adam was when Satan has the way to talk to Adam's wife. That guy was not married to his wife that time. I don't know where he was. Because if the job about marriage is a man pursuing, sticking to, following after, working closely, staying close, following closely unto his wife, in order that the two of them may be one. So marriage is about a man. Why? It's like, listen, when a mother is given a child and she is watching over a child, and you are going, mothers are very sharp. Hey, come here. They are quickly, because either there's a kindness, there's a danger. A mother's eyes will not depart from the kid. They're always very serious. You know, even though they are playing, they are looking, where's my child? Where's my child? The mother's eyes follow after the kid because the kid needs to be protected. They need to be guarded. They need to be watched after. It's the same way God says, hey man, you have to watch over this woman. You have to look for her. You have to stay close to her. You have to guard her. You have to protect her. You have to take care of her. That's what marriage is all about, man. God is giving you a woman to look after, to protect, to watch over, to see that no harm, no evil, nothing that is wrong come after. And if you are not ready, that's why marriage is a big responsibility. Because there are guys who think marriage is all about just going to the altar and then I do wed you, and after all, then you can go back to all your life. You don't care what happened to the woman. You don't care if the woman has no pants. You don't care if the woman is not eating well. You don't care if the woman is groaning under your care, and you say you are married. No, you are not married. Marriage is responsibility. Because we don't understand what it is. We think it's a ceremony we just have to do in the society, so that we can fulfill all righteousness that we are married. No, it's about work. Marriage is a hard work for the man. Now, just like you find a mother paying a close attention, you also know that it's not all the women that are mothers that are good mothers. Some are so careless with their kids. Some doesn't care. There are some kids now that when you see them with one eye, one hand, it's because of the carelessness of their mother. Because if the mother, there's some mother that throw their kids for the neighbors to take care, and they go to work, or to come back by 10 o'clock because they are pursuing money. Those are bad mothers. And the same way we have also bad husbands, who do not care what happens to their wife, who doesn't care if their wife is happy or not happy, who do not care what they are. You see, because that's one of the reasons why some women actually have illicit affairs in the offices. Because if you are not well fed in the house, and there's one guy that is smiling at you, always admiring you, always saying something and making passes, and in the house, the man you are married to, he does not even care. Here you are, is the temptation. And that's why I felt our men, first of all, see, sometimes the problem may be that most of us men, see, we are filled with the assumptions. We don't understand what marriage is all about. We just want to meet the societal rights and obligations rather than sitting down and being tutored and learn. I used to tell people, say, we go to university, we learn chemistry, we learn physics. How many of you have gone to a school and you learn marriage? And yet, in life, you can succeed in anything, but if you fail in your marriage, you are a big failure. In fact, the Bible makes it very clear in the Bible. It's one thing that God called you. It's another thing that you qualify. He said, many are called, few are choosing. A lot of guys today, they are walking call of God, and they're in ministry because they are called. But out of us that are called, there are few that are chosen. Because there are prerequisites. One of it is a family issue. I remember in 1984 or 5, then I was in University of Federal University of Technology, Akure. And God talked to me. He showed me my future. He said, listen, what I have for you, your marriage depends so much on it. And that if you fail, you will never get into it. Maybe that time I was just a year old in ministry. And I said, okay, God, I put all my life learning. And funny enough, I came to from a home that I have nothing. My family, my parents showed me nothing about marriage, because all I see them do is fight. So I have no good example to follow. So are many of us. But I didn't say because my background, I have no excuse, I have no foundation. I had to find out myself. I began to study, because he told me, the man who called me, the man who appeared to me told me, if you fail in marriage, you won't get there. So I started reading, I started praying, I started doing all I can do. The funny thing is that I was a competent marriage counselor even when I was not married. I think my wife should know. Some of my friends there know that time. I knew so much. And when I got married, it was a time to start practicalizing all that I've been teaching a lot of people. So I sat down. I started working out my life, my marriage. And I'm glad I did. Not only just, but your kids, your everything. And I remember about, I think, how many years into my marriage, I've forgotten, but I remember it was then, my in-laws visited us. Both the one in South Africa and both the one in Lagos here. So my house was full, and and our kids mixed together. Maybe at that time, maybe these kids are about 4 or 5 years old then, or something like that. And by the time they left us, news traveled so fast about my kids that, if you see Nkiru kids, they're so good, they're so intelligent, they're so obedient, they're so new. Good news just traveled so fast, and my wife began to hear all kind of news about, the way our kids, the way they perform. And somehow, of course, as a father, you'll be feeling so sweet and so good. So in the midst of me feeling so good and so fine, God said, okay, you're feeling good now. Oh, okay. Now, did you see the way you have raised your kids? And people are so, proud of them and they love them and they're obedient and they're this. All my kids, the first time this guy went to school and came back, the first prize he collected, the most well-behaved boy. I sent the girl there. She came back. She collected the most well-behaved girl. Now, in the midst of this, and God has said, did you see the way you have just raised your kids and they're okay now and they're doing well? I said, fine. And God said to me, now I want you to go and start a church, an assembly, a family, where you will begin to raise my kids the way you raise your kids, and people will be proud of my children. That's what gave back to what we're doing here today. I didn't wake up one day and said I just wanted to start a church. God gave me a specific assignment. To raise up kids he could be proud of. To raise up children we could send into the nations. Could send up kids that we could send to offices. They will not say, is this you? There's some offices you go. You said one brother said this one, I beg. Leave and lay low. Not be this one where they did our DG. This one, I beg, go away. This one where they share money with us. I mean this one where they drink tombo with us. Most of the time that's my concern over the years. I've seen people who are Christians, but when it comes living that life, we have few that decide to live it. And my greatest burden is to see you become what God said you should be on this earth and fulfill destiny. And that's why we're here, raising sons, raising men into glory, pushing people to become what God called them to be. Raising men to succeed. Success, you see, I know that there's some people who make success to be naira and dollars. Please understand, success has nothing to do with naira and dollar. It has nothing. But it has all to do about what God has called you to do in life. If you fulfill what God has written concerning you. When Jesus Christ came, he said, this has he written concerning me. And that's why I came. I've come to fulfill your will. And let me tell you that marriage is an equipment. It's what God gives to equip a man or woman to fulfill destiny. It's not about because I'm 35 now, I just have to marry. No. Because many of us, we pick our mates when we were blind. When we were looking at destiny. The issues of why many people picked are wrong issues. And that's why sometimes we suffer in marriage, because we pick for the wrong reasons. Rather than pick for where you are going, you pick for what's your hunger. Like Esau. Esau was hungry. And said, what does this have to do with me? He threw it away. That's right. Most of us were threw our destiny away when we wanted to choose a partner, because that guy is in a oil company. Hey! At the end of the day, now after 2-3 years, the guy was sacked from oil company. That's one thing you don't know. Whatever you see that are material are temporal. It is those things that are eternal So when you are choosing a guy, look at the guy in the perspective of eternity. And this seems to be more of the weaknesses of the women because of the gift they have. You know one thing, the gift of a man is as well as his strength or his weakness. When he uses it well, it becomes his strength. When he misuses it, it becomes his weakness. Most women will tell you what they like their husband for is the same thing they hate their husband for. Because when the husband, what attracted you to your husband, tomorrow will be something that will irritate you about him. Check it out. Especially when he's not managing that strength well. Now let's move on. Are we here? So we're trying to define what marriage is all about. And so it said, therefore shall a man leave his father, his mother's authority, establish authority that God has given to him. And over the time too, I told us something about authority. Unless I settle this thing all over, unless I try to settle this thing, we will always get the concept of the world of authority. Because in the world, authority seems to be given to a man who is stronger, who is bigger, who is superior. And then he tries to show the people that he's given the authority to serve as the one and the inferior. But in the kingdom, it is not so. We do not use authority to feel that we are superior. In fact, a man and his wife, there's no one that is inferior, there's no one that is superior. They are both one. They are equal. But see, equality, it's one thing. Roles is another thing. But we have different roles. And I'm trying to show us here over the time again. I'm repeating these things. I read Deuteronomy for us, where the Bible says that a man shall not wear the things that pertain to a woman. Neither should a woman wear the things that pertain to what? A man. And all that do this are abomination unto the Lord. And I told us it has nothing to do with trouser and skirt. I told us that the real thing God was trying to talk to us is about the role of a woman and a man. Because if we're religiously putting our spectacle, we think it's skirt. See, God wrote the Bible not for Nigerians. He wrote the Bible universal. So, some part of the nations are wearing skirt. The French guys wear skirt. Yes or no? Yes, so we should accuse them of tying a woman, wearing a woman's garment. So the problem is not this. It's not about what you use to cover your name. God is talking about spiritual issues because the law itself is spiritual. He said we are ministers of the New Testament, not of the letter, but of the letter killeth, but the spirit, what gives life. The same way we attack men. You didn't cover your head. Cover your head, sister. You are the people that allow the Spirit of God to move before you didn't put scarf. God is not talking about scarf. God is talking about a woman who is submissive to the husband, who is protecting the husband with submission. Because it is submission that covers your head. It is not scarf. So we need to look at the Bible in a practical order. In an order of godliness. And these women, you see that they're tying scarf. Hey, go and see them in the house. They're tigress. In church, they cover. And they are accusing every other person that they're not covered. They don't go for their husband, so. If their husband talk one, they talk 10. But that's not what God is saying. So we need to understand, we have tried to put this thing in a very good perspective in marriage. So that we should understand what God is always saying. And some of us sometimes will look at America as a yardstick for marriage. But let me tell you, America has lost it. We cannot afford to look at them. Because I and my wife, we watch every day the issues of their life. Do you understand what I'm saying? When you look at the men, their men, you'll be sorry for their men. Are you hearing me? Because, and I said something. This thing did not happen overnight. I didn't think America got to where they are, because if we in Nigeria do not arise, especially the men, we will get to where America has gotten to. Now, in America today, the women are the one taking over the role of men. They have a society, is a female-dominated society. Okay? The man has no power. You understand what I'm not saying? The man has been castrated. Look, I guess it all started when their men decided not to be responsible. Okay? They would just pregnate women. Leave them, the women, to face for everything. And when the women talk, they will beat the women, they will injure the women. So after a whole lot of, most of the women that are kind of bastardized, abused, somehow the women begin to rise up to talk. These men are not responsible. They gave us pregnancies, they abandoned us, we suffer, we raise. Watch America. Most of the mothers there, they raise up their kids. Most of the kids in America, they are mama's boys. And the men are nowhere. Maybe some of them, their men are into, how do I call it? Drugs, smoking in their hand, just an irresponsible set of men. And after a while, the government has to make a law to protect what? The women. Because over the years, there have been people who have suffered the consequences of this marriage. So laws have to be protected somehow, after they've seen a lot of, ways they have been treated by their husbands. So a law has to be given to them, and now they seem to have the upper hand. If you and your wife fight in America, and then divorce is nothing to them, they don't even know what it's all about. They can, because of all the funny thing, they forgot the word of God, and the times of darkness came. And today in America, any small thing, the woman, and because when the divorce is given, the woman gets the 80% of the share. The man almost go there empty-handed. It's you that they would drive out of the house. Even though you are married, even though you are the owner of the property at the beginning, once you are married and there's a crisis, the man is off. They go with their paper bag. The woman takes over. So it's convenient for the woman to say, if you do nonsense, I'll go and report you, throw you out, I inherit everything. If you talk, you are in trouble. So the men are kept inside the pocket. And then the problem is because their kids suffer for it. Because America is a country of fatherless generation. They don't have fathers. There are only few men that stood up as a father, that can be responsible as a father. So most of the kids they are raising up, they are men that do not have the touch and the circumcision of the father. That's why they like sweet words. How many of you know that? Do you know how women discipline their children or encourages kids? If a woman wants the child to go and do something, he said, honey, come here. I'll buy you sweet, chewing gum, cake. Just go and bring my bag in the bedroom. If you bring it, I'll buy you biscuit. The guys go to bring it because of biscuit. And the guy grows up like that and feeling, before I can do anything for you, mommy, you have to buy biscuit. If his father, the father says, come on, go and get me my something. If you don't get it, there's cane here. Consequence. Will you go before I open my eyes now with cane? The guy dashes there. Can you see the difference? One is right from time given the consequences of disobedience. The other one is not given the consequence of disobedience and pampered and begged and appealed. And the reason comes from this. The man is the man of authority. The authority that ranks in the family is gotten from the man. And that's why a very disobedient wife will not enjoy the authority of the husband. There's a clear difference. Over the time, when I say, hey, do, everybody shaking my hands and do, my wife struggles to get my kids to do something. I don't know if you experience that in your house. Okay? The kids easily see their mothers, their paddies. But when the daddy came, everybody jump. The difference, you wonder why is because God put something in a man that makes his child to jump the authority. But when you find a woman that submits to the authority, then you enjoy the authority of the man to help the children. But if they are mothers, you know, there are some ladies, they don't understand this protocol. You mess up their father in their presence. You say the man is a useless man. He's an idiot. He's a vagabond. You destroy the authority that the man has over the children in presence of the children. I used to tell someone, you will repeat. Because these kids you are looking now, that they are 2, 3, when they become 16, 17, you can't handle them any longer. But if you have dealt with them not to honor their father, not to respect their father, then at those critical years, you will be weeping. You will not have what it takes to put them in order. Because when the children are leaving the house, listen, it's the men. When they are in their infantry, you can handle them. But once they are going to their teen years, the fathers have to play more major role. Because these men and ladies, they are leaving the house and they need mentoring. Some people call them adolescents. Adult without the sense of an adult.